Yo,
There he is.
that was quick. What's good?
Yeah, super quick. Not taking long. I know you're a busy man. You have shit to do. So I very quickly wanted to get to some of these things that I put out there last week. I mean, you have hash literally on your head, on your mind at all times.
For real though.
Yeah, I have this weird thing where I often call BHO hash. BHO really, I think, when I say it, I mean any hydrocarbon extraction. I don't know that anybody out there is just using butane these days and nothing else anymore. But I'm curious to know. We have full melt, obviously hash, rosin, questionable, BHO, very questionable. And we have distillate, a lot of other types of consistencies. I'm curious to know, for those that don't know, Nikka T is an OG in hash making. He's one of the first hash makers that I met. I think a lot of hash makers out there will actually say the same thing I did. He's just been in the scene the longest, highly collaborative, doing demos at Emerald Cup and every show out there. He's just a source of information. So yeah, Nick, what's your take on this?
Yeah, first of all, much love and respect. Thank you for having me, giving me this platform. I appreciate all the thanks and praise. Just blessed to still be here doing what I love each and every day. So this is a very controversial subject. And I'm actually involved in quite a few boards right this second, working on defining some of these terms for our glossary of terms, really honing in on specific nomenclature and making sure everyone's on the same page. So these are great discussions to have. I can tell you right off the bat that I view this term hash a little bit differently than even some of my peers, some of the people that I respect the most, some of my best friends. We see a little bit differently on this subject. So I'm just giving you a little bit of this preface right here because I'm constantly working on this. I don't know if you guys saw the Ganjier program that we're working on, but that's one of the platforms that we've been focusing on, creating these glossary of terms, helping with standardization for the industry. Really, it's needed. So there's still no right answer to this question that you just asked. We still have not fully finalized it. But for me personally, I believe hash and hashish, more specifically hash. Let's talk about hash first. Hash is an umbrella term for me.
Okay.
So hash includes, for me, I'm just telling you my opinion because I have people on my board that we disagree, that disagree with me. But hash is an umbrella term for me. It includes everything from BHO to rosin to water hash that hasn't been pressed and water hash that's been pressed. And that's one of the biggest differentiators right now. And one of the holdups that we're having, because there's a lot of people on these boards that really believe that hash is only once these trichomes have been pressed. Before that, it's not called hash to them. And I really disagree because I believe that my full melt before I pressed it, I'm looking for something around here, is hash. And then I believe that my rosin is also hash. But one of the terms that I want to really discuss, and I'm going to pivot this and put it back on you and maybe the public's view, is the term extract. Because for me, the term extract really helps define and narrow in some of this terminology. And I believe that extract is only used for something that is actually extruded that trichome head. So hash, water hash, dry sift would not be considered an extract.
Because they're separated trichomes.
Yeah, because it's mechanically separated rather than extruded. But, I'd love to hear what everyone else has to say about that. And what everyone else has to say, I kind of brushed through the first one. But I believe it's an umbrella term, just for me personally. So I used it like that from the beginning with hash oil and then solventless hash oil. So for me, it's an umbrella.
I saw somebody out there, that somebody in my comments was like, well, technically, separated trichomes is hash. So that is their definition of it. That is ice wax, water hash, whatever the term is for today. They're claiming rosin is rosin.
But but let's back up a little bit. There's people even on these groups that don't believe that it's hash until it's been pressed. So isolator, ice wax, solventless wax, you know, these consistencies, this pre-rosin consistency is not hash to some of these peers of mine, which I think, you know, you're looking at me like you agree with me. I believe that it's hash even before it's been pressed.
Yeah, I've never even heard of that. I mean, I don't know what peers you have, but like, I've always known hash to be old school butt hash. Separated trichomes, pressed out, activated, gets you a sleepy kind of high, usually smoking it in a pipe. Like, that's what hash was to me up until about 2010 when I tried wax for the 100%. First time, what we were talking about. So it's weird to me that they wouldn't consider that. Who, you know, you're most certainly an OG, but I think that you're also somebody that's been this focal point of lots of different people's information, and you're really just like a student of the game who's been in it long enough for me to call an OG. Who are some authorities in the space that you look to when you're trying to answer some of these questions?
No, that's awesome. Let's talk about some of these heads that came before me. Robert Connell Clark, to me, is one of the biggest, most highly seen authorities to me. Robert Connell Clark, the author of Hashish, he's the first to write a lot of these glossary of terms, years and years and years ago. So Robert Connell Clark is one. My really good friend Darwin, and I constantly bounce these terms. In fact, this morning we were texting for 2 hours about some of these new terminologies and some past terminologies that we haven't used in today's world, like threshing. You know, that one that I posted earlier today. Threshing was a term that was used for removing the corn off the husks and collecting it, or also removing seed from cannabis. But it was also talked about in the 1960s for removing trichome heads from cannabis, much like mechanically separating or dry sift or, other methods like that. So anyways, Darwin Millard, he works with ASTM and a few of the other very, the standardization groups that we're going to be looking to, and they're helping to shape some of these terms that we're going to be using moving forward. And then also, one of the guys that I preface sees very differently than me, but he's a peer of mine, and I want to hear everything he has to say, is Frenchie.
Interesting.
And the other person is Mila, of course. Mila taught me some of these first terms.
Yeah, Mila's a big OG.
But yeah, Frenchie is a peer of mine. He's a good friend of mine, but we see completely differently.
Yeah, I don't know Frenchie personally. We've definitely hooked him up in the past. He's definitely very respected in the industry. I guess one of the reasons that I haven't gone to him for information is that I'm not saying this is a bad thing, but he's locked into his perspective. Like, he feels that the traditional methods are the best methods to make things that should be consumed, and I just disagree. When I'm smoking that old school hash,
he's very opinionated, and I respect his opinion because he's an OG, but I'll tell you right here that we see differently on a lot of these subjects.
Cool. I mean, he definitely, I think what's super important about Frenchie is his understanding of how we got to the point that we are now, and respecting those old traditions that are absolutely important. I'm also a fan of innovation, and I think hash is, not hash consumption, but just hash is one of the most innovative spaces you can go to. It's this never-ending chase to make something better, to breed something that will get you something better, to change any variables that might make something fresher or more resilient in processing. So I'm definitely a fan of his, but I also know that if you're going to talk to him, you can kind of guess what his perspective is going to be based on what type of stuff you're talking about. Where does distillate and CO2 fall into this?
So
CO2 is a weird one, especially.
I still consider those extracts.
Okay.
But if you're going to go with my original definition, I still think that those are umbrella under the term hash. It's a different type of hash. It's a different type of concentrated product. And a lot of people might, argue. And you know what? In all reality, we might be changing and writing the book right now to exclude that. And hash might not be that umbrella term that I have seen it as for the last 20 years. The book is being written right now.
Yeah. So I guess if the book is being written right now, and you could
And
see
I
it.
mean the book by like our world, you know, like we're
Sure.
writing it
Yeah.
every day, you know?
I'm very aware. It feels like this year is like year zero of this new pop culture developing, of like hash and pipe culture really dominating like the cannabis scene as it is. So I'm curious to know if you could have it your way, if you were the decider of what hash is going to be called moving forward, how would you categorize it? I think that you've already kind of said it, but I almost want to put it out there of like, today, your opinion might be different in a week or a month or a year, but today, how do you rule these things? By like, let's just say like water hash, rosin, BHO, aka hydrocarbon extraction, and then distillate and CO2 and like the other types.
And
How are you what are you calling them, and how do you categorize?
and here's another little variable. What would you consider sift in
I
that
was just going to
category?
say, I
You know,
forgot sift. I
so
mean, sift to me is hash for sure. It's separated trichomes.
I agree too. When
I
we're
hate sift.
even breaking it, when we're breaking down this terminology further, though, sift is going to be sift. In reality, you know, if we're going to try and differentiate these things
Sure.
even further, sift to me would be anything that was dry sifted or mechanically separated via dry means without the use of water. And then hash would be utilizing, you know, and that's it's hard, man, because like a lot of the charas, I consider that hash. And that was made with a sifting process, a dry sifting process initially. And that's also why some of these old school heads don't consider it hash until it's been pressed, because before that it's sift. So it's hard. I'm not even going to tell you exactly how I see it. I'm just going to give you a little bit of this roundabout definitions of some of the other terms, because hash to me is still just, it's a broad term, and it's really, really hard to put an exact definition on it.
Okay, another weird question while I have you. Do you think we're nearing the end of this fractal? And what I mean by that is, do you think there's going to be... I think I was the person who actually told you, yo, did you see... I'm pretty sure I was. Did you see soil grown? There's this thing called rosin. Do you know about this?
You might have been. Yeah, it sounds kind of faintly familiar. You might have been. Yeah.
I think I was the one who hit you up like, yo, dude, do you know this? And then I think I connected you guys through text. But... do you think we're near the end of this? Do you think we've done all we can do when it comes to innovating in hash? Or do you see new consistencies, new ways of extraction?
100%. Yeah, and I think that we're going to start finding which cannabinoids blend well with which terpenes to cause a certain effect. We're going to start seeing like these specific modulating factors, you know, because we've used this term, you know, the entourage effect or the synergistic effect of the cannabinoids with the terpenes, but that's so broad. So I think that we're actually going to break down what this entourage effect really is, because if we use one cannabinoid with a certain terpene, you know, yes, you're going to have a specific effect. We use the term entourage effect because we don't know all that each individual cannabinoid with which each individual terpene is going to, you know, have in effect wise. Yeah, I don't know. So many things I want to talk about with you. Yeah.
I mean, shit. What else? Like, I know that you probably can't talk about what you think the future is, because I'm guessing that you're working on it or working with the people working on it, and these things are a secret until you can kind of really present them to the public. I know that with our own personal innovations in house. So yeah, I'm hoping that when the time comes, I am looking forward to either watching your live or having you jump on here to talk about it, because I mean, every year since I've joined the space, I really started paying attention to hash, I think in 2013. And every year there was something new. There was shatter. And then live resin comes along. Then distillate is this thing that everybody thinks is, maybe just ignorant people, but thinks is like super special because you have a, effectively at the time, clear looking extract, unlike anything you've ever seen. And then rosin comes along and flips everything on its head. It's seen so many stages. Now flower is popping, but only 3 years ago we were calling flower pre-run and like completely demonizing it. I say that to somebody that's the biggest joint smoker, spliff smoker.
Yeah, spliff.
That I know.
Yo, but just to back it up a little bit, so you were talking like you really got into it 2013. When did we link up and figure out that water hash, before even rosin, worked well in your Puffco Plus?
I think when I met you, you told me, I think you and Cuban Grower both told me when I sent it over, like, yo, we're putting heads in here and it works.
You
It's
you
kind of
and
gross.
Chelsea actually came out to the California house and we tried it together, right?
Yo, we
It was
legit
like
went.
right.
That's how cool Nikka T is we're just like, I'm on the gram every day, literally in the hashtag ice wax, which is what everybody was calling water hash back then. And I'm just seeing like, what information can I get? This shit looks cool as hell. It's super elite. Nothing like it in New York, at least not in my circle. And so I just hit up Nikka T like, yo, we're in the Bay Area. Can we just give you a product? And he's like, yeah, come through the crib. I'll meet you outside. That's how just meeting random internet strangers.
But it was like that New York connection. I don't know. There was a vibe, man. You know,
Are
I
you
don't
from
just
New
meet
York?
random people. No, I mean originally my family, yeah.
I did. That's right. That's right. Your parents are from New York. I forget about that. But yeah, man, I think I didn't really get to play with melts ever. I mean, melts were just coveted. You're not going to put some 3 or 4 star in a Puffco, at least the old Puffcos that were like coil based. The Plus could do more, but it's still going to
I was doing it.
locked.
I was
You were
doing
doing
it.
it because I mean, you don't give a shit. You know, like I'm trying to keep the device working. You don't care if you'll break it.
No, but at the same time, bro, like my Puffco, you know, Peak Pro is one of the cleanest ones. Like I keep that shit pristine, bro.
I
I'm
mean,
like anal about it. I'm not putting too big of a dab in there. I'm not letting it overflow and boil onto my
sure.
atomizer. The previous atomizers, I hear these ones, I'm not gonna have that issue.
Yeah, I mean these things are just the most resilient things that we've ever made. But yeah, I didn't get to try water hash until years after. I mean, I tried what you gave me and I would try to put it into a pro, and I felt like I was never able to get the experience. And then I went to Washington, and Washington in like 2016, 17 to me was like the hash capital. So much hash being made, all going to glass blowers. It was like this weird ecosystem with the best hash makers and the biggest dollar consumers to buy it. So I go
Big
there.
up Cuban. Big up Cuban for pushing that level, for real.
I mean, he's one of the people who set that tone. And like, you see people start slabbing shit out. I haven't seen that of like a pressed out, nice. I have, you know, pretty much what I have like right here, this hash that I have from the Frosties, and then cutting it into little flags. And then my buddy Brian, I'm not sure if he's in here right now, on the front of his porch, and he's like, have you ever dabbed like melts before? And I'm like, I definitely haven't dabbed it. And he lays me down a little flag in a Mothership Mini, and it was a whole new experience. Like, I'm not trying to talk about opiates in any type of positive way, but it was almost like an
Narcotic.
opiate high.
Had a narcotic high,
opiates. Like, fuck all that. But like, it was a narcotic high. You feel it warming your body. You get these sweats. Like, it's a different experience than I did experience with dabbing anything else. And then to me, it was like this hash chase was on of, wait a minute. Like, the difference between shatter and live resin is flavor, to me at least. Like, that leap was just being able to taste more of what the plant had to offer. But trying hash for the first time was experiencing things from the plant that I just wasn't able to otherwise. And I'll say, I don't think rosin gives me that either. Like, rosin is great. It's a great high, but nothing is like water hash. It feels
Giving you that full expression of terpenes and cannabinoids, right?
everything. I mean, you're vaping the plant. It's literally the same trichomes that are on the plant that you're now just melting the trichome waxes and vaporizing what's inside. That to me was this mind-blowing. I felt like I never looked at cannabis the same way again. Of like, oh, these nugs, they just grow my favorite thing. Like, it separated the plant into trichomes for me. I think it's the first time I started seeing trichomes. It's probably when I stopped saying crystals. I don't think I ever said trichromes.
It's around that same era that High Times made the joke that, you know, I was collecting each individual trichome head with tweezers because the entries that we entered were like straight heads. People were confused. They hadn't seen heads like that.
Yo, funny story that I just remembered that I have to say. So like a couple years after I meet Nick, I hit him up when I'm in Colorado. I stopped by his house. I think maybe like the Plus was out or I had something new to give him. And he blesses me with like a gram of hash. And he goes into his own like Percy jar, opens it up, puts a dabber in there, puts it in the jar. Now, mind you, I'm still like, I'm not a novice hash user, but I'm not the like elite consumer that I am now. And I look at it and it's like beautifully separated. I don't know what I was thinking, but he's telling me like, this is our process. This is the way we handle things. And as he's getting to the end of his statement, I start putting my finger in the jar. And he was
this is classic.
And he's like, as I'm saying, he's like finishing the story of, these trichomes have never been touched by human hands. As my finger is just about to hit it, they're on a wave of like, no hands should touch the plant.
I'm still on that wave. Yeah, 100%. I preach that every day. I go to farms. I preach that. I talk to my cultivators. I preach it. I talk to my hash makers like every day. That's a huge one for us still.
Yeah, but I still remember like I was mortified. I was like so embarrassed. This as I'm like, you're
not the only one, bro. Everyone wants to do it. Everyone wants to do it.
Why do we want to touch it? Now I am so angry if anyone, I mean, touching a jar of hash is like, it's like sticking your finger in somebody's food. Like, oh, those wings look good. Let me poke them real quick. It makes no sense. But at the time, I guess, something about hash, you just want to touch it.
Yeah.
Damn, any future things coming up that you'd like people to know about with you?
Oh, man, so much. Well, we just released the GONGA program. Everyone, please do go to gonga.com. I think it's gonga.com. It might be thegonga.com. Sorry, I'm a little stoned right now. But either way, you Google search GONGA, you'll find it. We've been working on a sommelier program for the cannabis industry. It's also going to intertwine some of this glossary of terms and standardization. But everyone, if you're interested, go over to gonga.com and click yes on you want to be informed. You want to join the list.
I'm going to do that.
And it'll keep you guys informed about that. I've been working on the, just in the back end, and on the low on my Essential Extracts Missouri project. We started broke ground like almost a month ago now, and that's moving forward really quickly. So be prepared to see us operational in Missouri 2021. I've got Essential Extracts CBD. I've been working on this project for at least 2 years. I mean, I was one of the first people to extract or mechanically separate hemp, live, fresh frozen hemp out here in Colorado with
I just saw you
R&D hemp grows from like 2013. Yeah, so we've been doing that and playing with that for a long time. And I'm just feeling confident enough and watching the market and the industry enough and to finally start to enter that market. We are going to really be focusing on that broad cannabinoid spectrum, getting as broad spectrum as we can within the legal system that we're working with. I just have so many people, Brazil's a perfect example. They're not letting us play with THC in Brazil yet, but they want us and they want to play with hemp. So I've got some Brazilian partners that I'm working with to help bring some of these CBD products to market in Brazil.
Fuck yeah, bring hash to the world. What are you going to do in Jamaica, man? I know you're as big of a fan of Jamaica as me. They are below mids, my friend. They need help.
Every day they
help in Jamaica.
I'm constantly working on projects in Jamaica. I might be working on them from afar at times, but my passion and my love for the culture is still in JA. I got a lot of family out there, and I'm constantly fielding conversations and helping cultivators in Jamaica. One of the reasons that Jamaica, kind of is moving on a different path, I'm not going to say a slower path, but, the way in which a lot of Rastas have grown cannabis for generation after generation is they're all about breeding. So even if you bring that clone-only OG over to Jamaica, the Rastas might cross it with what they think is amazing, but it might just be an Amnesia Haze cross because they're so flush with European genetics out there, and not everyone is as educated as us in the United States. I've oftentimes, I've done it myself, is bring my clone-only OG cuts out there, and they're like, yo, man, go on, grow this thing, and then they ended up hitting it with their Amnesia Haze cross, and it is what it is. But I got lots of love for Jamaica and continuing to
I hope me and you
bring
can,
education out there.
I particularly love going to Portland. I don't know if you've been to Portland out there, but
Screechy Don's is my spot, bro. In Portland, I got this seafood joint, bro.
Screechy, I haven't been there yet. I'm usually going to is it Soldier Camp or Soldier Jam?
I don't know. I'm really bad with geography, to be completely honest, man.
Me too. But we got to link up in general. We have to link up out there. I appreciate your time. I know you have to run by 5 o'clock, so we'll do this again soon, Nick. Thank you, homie.
Yes, man. Much love and respect. Give thanks for having me.
Appreciate you. You're gonna have to like bounce out yourself. It won't let me kick you out. Thanks, Nick. Later. Awesome. Well, there he is, OG Nikka T, man. If you have been in the hash game for a while, you know that name. You've probably gotten some advice for him. He's definitely helped push the space forward, and he's a trusted contact of mine when talking about this stuff. I am going to jump right into a dab and start answering some